Welcome back to the Remotely Speaking podcast. We're your hosts, Paul and Chastity Hawkins. Great to see you guys. The last episode, we talked about how to delegate like a boss.
Like a boss.
A boss. And this time, we're going to talk about why it's important to build trust with your remote team member. Talk about the challenges, good stories about it, why it matters.
Yeah, I think we can agree that when you work remotely and you're not together, that trust is important. So that's what this whole episode's about, on how to build that trust, what that looks like, and maybe some successes and failures that we've seen along the way.
Exactly. So let's start off with why trust matters. Seems really apparent, like, yeah, you should trust people, but why does it matter in a remote setting? For me, trust matters a ton with remote employees because they're not with you, right? So it's a matter of accountability. Can you trust a person to get their work done, to do it timely, to do it accurately, to be there? Can they do that without you being present?
Yeah, we've definitely touched on that in past episodes where, letting go is hard. And so if there's trust, then letting go becomes a lot easier because you know that the hire you've made can be trusted to do things the way you like them, the way that is expected in their job. And then they also trust you to provide feedback and it just works. So that's why trust is important.
Exactly. We call it a two-way street, right? It's not just the employer or the business owner trusting the employee to do the work. It's the employee trusting that the business owner is going to communicate with them, provide the guidance, clarity, etc., for them to do their work.
Absolutely.
One of the things I want to talk about today are the challenges with building trust with a remote setting, like why it's harder. Some things I've experienced in the past that are absolutely the items to overcome is the fact rather that the person's not in person. It's really hard to build trust with someone who's not there, right? They're somewhere else. And that can cause some issues with the way you communicate. Like it's really easy to miscommunicate in email. I've never done it in my entire life.
Never.
Nope.
Nope.
No, there's no one's taking my emails the wrong way.
Paul is definitely Mr. ex-military IT dude that uses as few words as possible.
Yes, absolutely.
So his email responses are
Yes.
yes, period. And I was a lawyer,
Yeah.
and I like all the words. Lawyers get paid by the word, in case you guys didn't know.
So actually, it's really let's go down this rabbit hole for a second because it absolutely applies. When you have remote team members, usually the first thing you gravitate towards for communication standpoint is text and email. It's the written form, right? It's faster that way. It takes too much time to pick up the phone and do the "How are you?" blah blah blah. So we send text messages or emails. Yes, I'm super guilty of this, right? For me, if you ask like 15 paragraphs of stuff and I know the answer is sure, I'm gonna go okay. And I'll press send. And for me, I've answered the question. I didn't waste anybody's time. Very successful for me. Not successful on the other end a lot of times. They usually take it as being too brief. You didn't read the rest of my email. You don't like me.
Yes. Yeah.
You name it because I'm brief to a point.
Yeah. Communication, a big challenge with remote teams. Because you're right, written form, things get lost in words. And so even though we're remote, we prioritize, I think, speaking with our team over the phone or meetings. I know our team probably sometimes is like, oh God, another meeting. Do they really need me on Teams? Do I really have to get dressed today? And so,
Yeah, maybe.
I think that the mixture of the communication is key and making sure that you are very clearly communicating or your team at least understands your way of communicating. And that's part of the building trust is getting to know each other and understanding Paul wrote one word. He's not mad at me. That's just the way he communicates, right? So I think that's
I'm not for the record out there, I'm not mad at you. I'm just few words. That's all.
yeah,
It's my engineering brain.
yeah. Paul's not mad at you, team.
No, I'm not mad at you. We're good. It's just yes. So you're absolutely right. And that really leads into like how you build trust with a remote team revolves around what I call the three C's. It's communication, cadence, and clarity. Communication we're gonna talk about first. Absolutely right. We have lots of different ways to communicate. We have like an infinite number of ways to communicate now in our modern age, and we get it all wrong all the time. And so in our experience, having a frequent video meeting with our team is so important because it allows them to see our faces. They can see our body language. We get to talk to them, which is really important. And what I would say is like speaking with remote team members is paramount over all other forms, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Communication is number one, and we all know this. We know, like, gotta be an effective communicator. Yeah, it's hard. It's actually really hard. On the remote setting, you need to put some extra effort into it to make sure that the trust gets set properly with your remote team members. Where we found a lot of success is in several areas. One is communicating well and communicating often. So we joke about my brevity, right? And chastity absolutely counters that with like paragraphs upon paragraphs of,
Beautiful
oh, they're
paragraphs.
gorgeous. But they really just say like, yes, I agree, right? But it's like through 13 pages. Whereas mine says, okay, right. So the answer is right in the middle is one, teaching your team how you communicate, right? So they understand, hey, when I get this sort of email or text, we already know what it is, right? Second is using the other forms of communication so they get to know you, right? If all you do is text and email, they're never going to get to know you very well. And they might build this incorrect vision of you that's not you, right? And so it's very good to have all forms, having a video call, calling them, texting and email. Using all four is actually really important for the person to understand you, build trust with you, right? And same vice versa. Like if all you do is text, you never hear them talk.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. And the little touches, the occasional card or,
Yeah.
fun little happy mail, gifts. So just any communication touches or touch points that you can build with remote teams makes a difference, I
Exactly.
think, in building that trust.
100%. Cadence. Let's talk about it. This is a big one for me. We're going to have a whole nother episode on just cadence. Anyone from my past life is already laughing when I bring this up because I am just notorious about rhythm, right? I mean, yeah, it's strange. I play drums. There's just rhythm in life, and there's rhythm in business and meetings. In our experience, one of the best ways to build trust is to have consistent communication with your team. So one thing we do here with Sidekicks, in particular, is we have a recurring after action review. It's called a retrospective. Every single month, the first Thursday of the month, every month, we have every single person on our team gets on a Zoom call with us, and we go through what went well, what didn't go well for the month, and what are we going to immediately do. And what that does is, one, it allows everyone to know, like, every month I'm gonna be able to talk to the boss,
Yep.
every single month without fail. And two, I'm gonna have a safe forum for me to describe and explain, "Hey, the things I did that were great, and here are the things that I think we could improve." And when you have a setting like that, it builds a lot of safety and trust over time. We found it to be extremely effective with the team, after only just a few months. Everyone feels that they have a voice, that there's a safe place to talk about the issues that exist and a way for us to get it done.
Yeah, and I think the reason cadence is also important with remote teams is because I've been there. I've gone long periods of time where I'm experiencing frustrations, I'm buried in work, and my boss doesn't know it,
Yeah,
or they don't seem to care, or I don't have an outlet with the people that review me and control my salary and control my workload. And so I believe that when your remote workers know that they are going to have an audience with you regularly, that they don't harbor that. They know, okay, I'm going through this, but I'll have a chance to share it. And they've and again that's the whole reason we do it is because it builds trust. They know that they can trust us with that. They can trust that the communication is coming, that we have a set schedule and a cadence that they know that they'll be able to talk to us about and the team about. And it creates this really nice accountability environment where the whole team can talk,
mhm,
whether they're in an office or whether they're remote, whether we see them often or talk to them often or not. They know that they share this call and everyone kind of takes ownership and acknowledges what's happening, even if it's not their job.
that's right. Yeah, totally agree. The other thing about cadence that I found to be really effective with just the day-to-day business, right, is having a regular scheduled time where you're going to check in with your remote employees, right? Hey, every Friday I'm going to send you notes like, hey, tell me how things are going this week. And that really builds a lot of accountability and trust right off the bat because the person knows, hey, Paul's going to reach out every Friday, right? And I know that I'm going to get some responses that I should look at. And just having a regular time to communicate is so important. Once you get into what I would call a maintenance mode when things kind of get on the rails. If you don't use a cadence with communicating with your team, you won't. And all of a sudden you'll go like a month, like, oh man, I haven't talked Chastity in like a month.
Yeah.
And a lot of things can go wrong in a month if you don't check in. It's not because they're doing something wrong. They just may be going off guidance that's old, right? Or working on things that aren't priorities anymore. So yeah, it takes some effort on the business owner's part, but doing something regularly, be a weekly or bi-weekly, super important.
Yeah. And from the business owner or employer standpoint, you don't want to not know what's going on,
That's right.
right? You may not be in the trenches doing the stuff every day. You don't want to micromanage. There's a delicate balance here we're trying to strike, but being aware of what's happening, because you're in the best position to spot big problems. You're the business owner and the boss, probably because you are the long term thinker, you're the big picture person.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know the little stuff that's happening, at least fairly regularly, you're not gonna have the knowledge you need to spot those potential problems down the road. And you don't want your team to feel like you're checked out or they're alone.
Exactly. Yeah, it's super, super, easy when you're remote to feel like you're on an island, right? And I would say as a leader, your responsibility is to make sure they don't feel that way,
Yeah.
right? So including them often in these forums or calling them is really, really important to making them feel like, hey, they're just part of the office.
So we have communication.
With communication, we
Wait,
have cadence and we have clarity. So clarity, what does that mean? Kind of full circle for this conversation here is being clear in your communication, chalk face. Uh, this one, I struggle with this one actually. I sometimes I know personally I can be too clear because I'm too brief, and that actually makes it not clear. The reason I say that is know your audience, right? So some of your team members are going to respond really well to here's two bullet points done. Some need lots of explanation. They may need a follow-up phone call to explain it. They may not understand what you just wrote, right? This happens to me all the time, right? And Chastity will write like volumes of stuff. And for someone like me, I really need the shortened version, right? Because there's too many words and I lose track.
yeah, that's true. All those extra words help. Um, I think clarity is really important. Obviously, whether you use lots of words or very few words, I think learning your team and having your team learn you, again, we're kind of looping back to that, getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Um, I know that there are some team members I just need to pick up the phone and they need
That's
to
all.
hear my tone of voice.
That's right. Yep.
Um, I know that there are others that don't need that if I just send them bullet points, or I know that there's some that love my long paragraphs and all my
Me
emojis.
too.
And so I think knowing your team and understanding which form of communication's important,
I agree.
and you can be clear in understanding the method that's best for the person.
100%.
But definitely always, always with remote teams, it's important for the team to understand what's expected of them and then what they kind of expect from you in return. Again, like you said, this is a two-way street. And so setting that groundwork in the very beginning and then giving consistent feedback. Again, we come into the cadence part.
Mhm.
The feedback, if you weren't clear or the expectations weren't delivered in the way that you intended, or they didn't receive them that way, then the feedback loop is what helps you get there. And eventually you get on the rails and all's well, and you have this beautiful, trusting remote relationship that just works. It works when it works.
Absolutely.
So it's worth the investment.
Yeah,
Oh,
like, I know for a fact if you don't put smiley emojis in your email, I'm like, "Well, Chas is mad." I
uh,
kinda see those smiley emojis.
emojis are the best.
No, I
Whoever invented emojis, I love them.
no, it's perfect. Yeah, I don't use them in my emails. It would be very weird for me, but hey, yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool.
So any other challenges? We talked about obviously communicating, feeling on an island.
A challenge we haven't talked about is integrating the remote team member with your in-office team or the rest of the team. So in our case, every one of our, internal team members are remote, and none of them are together. 0. Some are relatively close to each other, but all of them are physically separate. So it's really important to find ways to get them together often, right? And of course, we have our own full team meeting, but encouraging the sub teams to hey get together and talk frequently. Like, hey, you guys build a relationship too. Sort of delegating that down to them super important. And I would say for most of our audience, if you have an in office team, One of the best ways to build trust with your team and that person, which is equally as important as trust between you and that person, is get them introduced to your in-office team right from the start. Get them involved in your meetings. If you have meetings with your in-office team, let's say weekly or biweekly, throw up a Zoom on the screen and get them involved in that as well. Really important for them to know, to get to know the remote team member and vice versa. It's gonna work magic for you.
All right, so I think we've talked all about all the C's,
Yes,
right?
please.
So there are a few more things with building trust that I think we should touch on maybe before we wrap things up.
Okay.
And that is, and it's communication related, but encouragement and empowering your team. So
Yeah.
first off, the feedback loop that we talked about. Obviously, you want to give them the constructive criticism when necessary, but acknowledge when your team's doing things well. You want to create the environment that the team knows that if they've done something great, maybe they'll get an atta girl or an atta boy every once in a while. It creates a fun, positive environment, maybe some incentives, even if they're little small things like, hey, uh, participate in this meeting and I'll send you a gift card or something small that lets them know that you care.
Yeah.
Little positive reinforcements along the way really, really go far.
I agree. I agree. So empowerment, I have this saying. It's called trust but verify. I always find this from a business owner standpoint is a great way for you to relinquish control without all of it, so you don't get totally uncomfortable with it. Trust but verify. And what that really means is, hey, look, I'm going to trust you to get this job done, but I'm going to check in. Right. And that provides accountability. They know you're going to do it. You're trusting them. Hey, I'm empowering you to do this. And it's not like I'm not micromanaging at all. I just want to make sure these things got done. Right. And so trust but verify tends to work really well. And one of the ways that we do that in our companies, we have a system, right? So it's kind of the other thing for building trust is
The tool guy, he loves a tool.
don't call me a tool, okay? Yes, I do. I like systems and tools. I do. Yeah, I'm a
Yes,
big fan. But here's why. Here's why. When you have the right system, right kind of client relationship management, a CRM system in particular, when you have the right one, it is the surefire way to have accountability across the board. And we have found the fastest way to transfer trust and empowerment over to our team members because it's all in the system. All of it. Like, if I need to find something, I need to go look at the notes. And if there aren't notes, well, that's a good talking point. Let's talk about that. We use it to have our planning and the retrospectives we have. They're all separate documents. We talk about it. Having the right tool that provides real time metrics and data for your team, like it's huge. At any given point, our team member can go in and see exactly where we stand for the entire business, every single minute of the day, where we are with our client load, sidekicks that we have, or ARS reps, etc., and what's in the pipeline, what's going on.
for sure. So to recap,
Yeah.
trusting your team is important because you obviously aren't together. You can't see what they're doing. And accountability is difficult when you're not in person. And so the communication and all the C's that Paul finally revealed to us, in addition to a feedback loop, some positive or constructive feedback, and then some tools to help you. And so all of those things can be best practices in building trust within your team. If you know that you're going to talk to them and you know that you're going to get feedback, two-way street, and you know that you have a tool that can show you the big picture,
Yeah.
and will paint the picture of what's going on, then it's a lot easier to like let go and just breathe and just be and keep your head down and focus on what you need to focus on. As business owners, we need to be focusing on the big picture, not on the little tiny thing that's happening.
Yeah.
But if we ever wanted to know about the little tiny thing, we know we have a method to find out about it, um, should we so desire.
Well said. If I were responding to that whole dialogue with an email, I would say, cool. I agree. And I would say send.
Yes, correct. He would. And I would throw an emoji and 75 more words.
That's right. Just to make sure. Just to make sure. Now, look,
Communication is key.
Chas, can you give us an example, give the audience an example, I suppose, of this working really well, where we created an environment of trust and success that came from that?
Yeah, well, I have a very recent personal one.
Yeah.
It's personal and it's business, but recently we implemented all of these methods and best practices in hiring my executive assistant.
Yeah.
So I needed help, and I was definitely the micromanager that wanted to do it all and to hold it all. And I realized I couldn't do that anymore. And so we hired April. April, if you're listening, you're amazing.
You're
Um,
incredible.
we hired April, and she is helping me with everything at this point. But we started small and we started with just 2 weeks of communication. She didn't touch anything.
Yeah.
April learned about me. I learned about her. She learned about our businesses. She read my sent items in my email inbox to see how I communicate, what that looks like. And we even kind of talked about learning each other's love languages. We had weekly check-ins more often than that, even in the beginning. And she learned that I'm not necessarily a words of affirmation person.
Yep.
As many words as I love to use in writing, I'm not a say out loud how wonderful you are kind of person. And but I learned that she likes that. And she learned that my love language is
Access.
acts of service. And so she is wonderful at that, and I'm doing my best to serve her in the words of affirmation. But we have built incredible trust. And so this very non-trusting, micromanaging person went from that to within 30 days, I've handed it over, man. Like, she
Yeah.
manages my email, she takes care of things, she predicts my needs, offers to help, and I allow her. And so for me, that's a really, really recent success story with the building of the trust and what difference it makes. Because I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, she's in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I've never met her in person, but it doesn't matter because I trust her, she trusts me. We know we're gonna talk often. She predicts what I need. I understand her intention behind that, and it's wonderful. And so I think that that's the perfect example of what a really successful, trusting remote relationship looks like.
Yeah, 100%. I've seen it occur. And I one thing I want to point out, or two things actually I want to point out that I believe really made it super successful. One is you invested the time up front,
Yeah.
right? Rather than like, hey, welcome to the team, and you disappeared. It was, hey, welcome to the team, and then you talked to April nearly every single day for the first 2 weeks until you got into the rhythm with her, right? The second thing is she does a phenomenal job of ensuring she's received the information correctly. So she always asks questions to clarify. And I love it when she does it because it'll be like, when you say this, do you mean this? And it was really revealing to me because she's always making sure that what we said is what we meant to say, which can not be the case in written form all the time, right?
No.
And so she's prevented us from screwing up basically. Uh, and so having a point of clarifying between you and the remote is huge, right? That like just pick up the phone, hey, this is what you meant. Yep. And over time, your remote workers are going to know that's what you mean, right?
Yeah.
And so kudos to you, April. Like you, gosh, you're amazing.
Need a bomb.
That's right. Great example.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, because we don't want to, talk too long, save some for next time. But I think that we've made it very clear that trust is important when you're working remotely,
Yeah,
but that it doesn't happen automatically, that
that's right.
the effort it takes effort,
Fix it.
and that effort is important. You can't just hire this remote team and go, "You're the expert at this, go do it," because they may be an expert at it, but not do it the way that you think they should do it. And they may be coming in with some preconceived notions of what something should look like. And so that communication, that trust building, and all of the tools to make that happen. We have beautiful technology tools, all the things. And so I think that that is why trust is important in a remote team because it makes it work.
Makes it
It
work.
makes it work
It
well.
does. For me, final comments is just put in the effort.
Yeah.
If you put in the effort, you're gonna get tenfold on the back end. And it works. Remember the 3 C's, everything Chastity talked about. Make your emails a little bit longer than mine.
Mhm.
It's probably a good idea. Maybe make them like medium length with a couple emojis, and you're gonna be a winner right off the bat with that one. That's it for the episode this week. If you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Amazon, and Spotify so you can get the latest and greatest because we're awesome and I know you need to listen to it.
And follow along with us on social media. We're on Instagram at Remotely Speaking Podcast. We will see you next time.
See you later.